Welcome everybody to Leadership with Dr. Dwaun Warmack, who is the 9th president of Clafton University. Prior to that, he served as the president of Harris-Stowe State University. Dr. Warmack has over 2 decades of progressive experience in higher education and leadership. Dr. Warmack provides leadership to more than 450 full and part-time faculty and staff. Let's welcome Dr. Dwaun Warmack.
I am Dr. Dwaun J. Warmack. I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the 9th president at the historic Clafton University, one of the oldest HBCUs, and it's the oldest HBCU in the state of South Carolina, and one of the top 10 in the country, and has been top 10 for over 10 consecutive years. So I'm fortunate to serve in this position.
You know, as a leader, we all want to do our very best. So let's listen to Dr. Warmack and hear how you can be more effective as a communicator and how you can actually measure your expectations as a leader from your team.
Those are two distinctly different characteristics, right? Okay. So the communication is essential, right? And having ongoing, what I define as closing the loop, you know, and so oftentimes I can say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here are the KPIs, key performance indicators. Here are your goals for the year, and here's how we're gonna measure them, right? But then again, how do I close that loop? And so the follow-up is so important. And so I don't wait to surprise them at the end of the year to do the evaluation. Mid-year, we check in. Like, hey, here's where we are. Here's what we've met, some of those, and here's where we still need some improvement. And so for expectations, it is very clear I set them on the front end, right? Like, hey, I hire leaders to be leaders. And so that's an expectation when I come in. And I've looked for 4 principles. I look for folks who are dedicated, committed, loyal, and most importantly, understanding is self-motivated. So it's dedicated, committed, self-motivated, and loyal. Once they have those characteristics, then everything else goes from there. But communicating those things on the front end is so essential, and closing the loop to make sure that that is constant feedback. I've been fortunate. This is my 2nd college presidency, and my first presidency, I was the youngest college president in the country at 36 years old, my first presidency. And, you know, at that point, you know, sometimes in some communities, ageism is real, right? Like, and so you'll say, oh, maybe he's too young to be a president, right? So sometimes I overly communicated and I overly expressed my expectations, so we'd have no issues at the end. And so, so now I've been doing it now, my 9th year as a president. It comes second nature. I mean, I think, but back to the piece of hiring experts to be experts and leaders to be leaders and empowering them to do so. And so by far not a micromanager or anything like that, but empower leaders to lead.
As a leader, we have all had so many different experiences in our lives that have really shaped the way that we lead. Let's hear how different experiences can shape you as a leader from Dr. Warmack's perspective.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I've been thrust into leadership almost my entire life, right? I started off, and I tell folks, the education piece is the second end. You know, my first leadership all came through athletics, you know, and so I was a 4-sport high school athlete, captain of 4 sports. I was a 2-sport college athlete, and so athletics is what set the tone for me. But within that same vein, I was thrust into leadership positions and helping our team, you know, and I think for me, my leadership style ties back to athletics, right? I think, you know, team as an acronym, together, everyone achieves more. And so getting everybody to feel a part of the team for that to be able to happen. So for me, coming in to get folks engaged and feel a part of the team makes a difference. And when folks feel like they're silos, there's not a sort of a cohesive team. So my first thing that I do is build the team and get folks to understand, like, hey, all parts make one unit. You know, I don't care if you're the housekeeper or you're vice president. Everybody position is essential to our overall mission. And so I hire to mission, I hire leaders, develop leaders, and train leaders. I have prided myself on saying I have never fired one person, right? We've had multiple folks transition. We've had multiple folks move up in the organization, but fire because I've set the expectations and set the parameters of what we're looking for. And when you have those things straight. There's no such thing as firing. It's that folks can either meet those expectations or they can't, and they decide to go whatever direction and help them go to whatever direction they're trying to go.
Just because teams work together doesn't mean you're going to automatically have success in that teamwork. But teamwork becomes successful when you have collaboration. Team collaboration is critical on any project or when you're just managing a team. So let's hear a little bit more from Dr. Warmack on how you can collaborate with your team, your staff, your students, or even your community for success.
I found the best way to create a collaborative culture is to be inclusive, right? And this whole notion in higher education is what we call or define as shared governance. And shared governance, everyone has a part in the decision-making process. So that's faculty, staff, students, and alumni, and community stakeholders. And so for me, I manage currently full-time and part-time. There's roughly about 450 full-time, part-time employees. There's about 2,000 students, and there's over about 8,000, a little over 8,000 alumni. And so when you think about that many constituent groups and balancing that, it's imperative that collaboration and communication happens. And I often say in leadership, leadership is lonely if you're not intentionally inclusive, okay? And so when we talk about shared governance, people always want the glory when the success happens, right? But people don't want the challenges that come behind this when it's not successful. So we have everyone at the table. Practical example. So I have a thing I call my presidential cabinet. So that is all of the vice presidents, okay? We meet weekly. I have another thing called administrative council that meets once a month. And that's a student representative, that's a community representative, that's every person who's at the director level higher. And again, I don't bring the agenda for that. I let them bring the agenda, and we set forth the path for the institution. Now, the cabinet has overall strategic focus at the institution, but this administrative council has direct face time with me and the cabinet to identify strategies that we think we need to do to move the institution together. So everyone feels that they're a stakeholder, and it's not a formality, it's a true decision-making board and administrative council. That makes a difference, and folks feel empowered. Folks feel like they're a part of the process. And I've also created this thing called a faculty fellow, staff fellow, and the SJ president serves on the administrative council. So the faculty fellow, I select one faculty member per semester that shadows me for the entire semester, right? They learn administrative work. So if they want to go from being a teaching professor to becoming a department chair, and maybe a department chair to a dean to a provost to a president. But if they get the direct hands-on experience of getting a chance to follow, so folks will be like, oh yeah, this is something I want to do. And I've had some say, I don't ever want to do that. That is a tough job. So to be able to provide them the hands-on experience for that to happen. And I think, and I fundamentally believe, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the right mentors that poured into me, that empowered me to be able to do the things that I've been able to do. So I have a responsibility to pay it forward and train the next leaders. And again, this whole ideology of mentoring has to be one way. It goes, I get it from folks that mentees, I get a ton from them. But also too, I can be training leaders that are my students, 18 to 22, that are going through this cognitive developmental stage, or I can be training, folks that are in senior level positions or not senior level positions who want to move up. And so I think leadership is so broad spectrum, and then with the right intentional investment, the outcomes come the way you want them to come.
I am sure this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Having a title does not make you a leader. Everyone has the capability to lead, regardless of what your status or your position is. If you're the president of the company or if you're just a janitor, right? You are all able to become leaders. Let's really listen and hone in on what Dr. Warmack has to say and what he feels about leadership and different leadership styles.
My leadership style is defined in three ways, right? I am a servant leader, I am a transformational leader, and I believe in leading with a purpose and leading with integrity, right? So those are the three areas of leadership, and I try to model those each day. And so when I say I am I'll start with a transformational leader, right? I believe in thinking the unthinkable And sometimes we're in leadership, we're fearful of making a decision because of the outcome may not be the best outcome, right? So that stops our creativity, that stops our ability to reimagine what's possible. And so as a transformation leader, I encourage our team, like, hey, make the decision. If it doesn't go well, guess what? We know what to do, not to do again in the future. We build off of that and go to the next level. And so moving organizations or entities or boards that I'm on from this level to the next level. So that piece that is there. A servant leader is, I believe in the people, right? I believe in the people that I serve. And so this is a ministry for me in higher education. I wasn't called to the pulpit because God is still working on this vessel, right? But I can say my ministry is serving 18 to 22-year-olds that are going through this cognitive developmental stage in their life and helping them define and identify who they are and whose they are throughout this journey. So our institution has, again, you'll hear a lot of me in fours because we do these things here, either 3 or 4. We have this, we believe in developing the student holistically. That's academically, that's personally, that's socially, and more importantly for all of us is spiritually, because it's tied to our mission as a Christian institution. And so for me in those areas, so as a transformational leader, a servant leader, and a leader that leads with character and integrity, because too often times that in situations individuals will say something, but their actions display something totally different, right? So both what I say and my actions have to directly align. And so that only can happen if you're leading with character and integrity within the role that you do. And because this is my ministry, and on Judgment Day, God will say, good work, my faithful servant, based on what I do here, those 3 areas is what define my leadership. I am a lifelong learner. If you could see over there my books, I've read every single one of those, a ton on leadership. I think it's a constant growth process. But I think, again, we all have to be able or willing to put ourselves in a position to learn. Everyone has leadership ability. And how is it nurtured? Right? How is it manifested into the work that you do? And again, I fundamentally believe, I don't care if it's at our institution, one of the custodial staff or one of the maintenance team. You're leaders, right? We can't do anything we do on this campus if your work is not efficient, And so I meet with our team and I said to them, hey, here's why your job is more important than mine. When people have to come in this building to get to me, but before they do that, they've developed their ideology or mindset before they get here based on how the campus looks, how clean it is, how aesthetically it looks outside the building, and before they even get to the office, what's in the hallway. So your job is a lot more important than mine, because by the time they get to me, they've developed this mindset of what it is. And so I need you just as much as you need me. And they're like, wow, our work really does matter. And so getting folks empowered to understand that all of us play a role in the success for it to happen. And that's leadership.